So what's your opinion on this subject matter?
Yeah, well, I've given it, as you know, over the last 60 hours. I broke the news right around midnight, Friday to Saturday morning. And I think on both fronts, merit and publicity, you, of course, mentioned it, it's just a total swing and a miss by the national governing body, by USA Basketball, just a missed opportunity. And but I'll start with my answer by saying, I have covered this women's basketball team, and I've covered it longer than anyone else, probably. I reported on that team at the 1984 Olympics in LA, and every single Olympics after, I haven't missed one. Lucky me, so fortunate. I have dropped into the women's basketball team at some point. I think I counted 5 at least gold medal games that I covered. And what happens when you go to a women's gold medal game, U.S. women's basketball, the greatest team, most dominant team on the planet, men's, women's, any sport, Rich, I could make that case. They last lost in the 1992 Olympics. That's how good they are. But when I stand in that press tribune, it's tumbleweeds. There's a few reporters here, a few there, Bob Ryan, a couple others. I remember Bob and I talking in London at the 2012 Olympics. Of course, others, but in general, nowhere near the coverage that they deserve. And I will say this, many of our buddies in the sports media, male-dominated sports media, obviously, fine. The men, the guys have laughed at me for going, like, oh, I'm not doing that. They'll cover the men's basketball team, but they won't cover the women's. That is a fact. It is part of the story. So you put Caitlin Clark on that team, the team that so richly deserves attention and doesn't get it and won't get it without her, because there's just so much going on in an Olympics. On that same day, there probably will be 30 other gold medals given out, and sports editors and others have to make a decision. Do you go to Simone Biles? Do you go to women's soccer? Where do you go? It's not, there's just too much going on. You put Caitlin Clark on that team, and every single one of those guys that can't stand women's basketball are running to watch that team, and not just Americans. I was at the Masters. A British journalist came up and said he couldn't wait to cover Caitlin Clark for, of course, his audience in Great Britain and around Europe at the Olympics. That's not going to happen. Think about the dream team in 1992, Rich, how the men's team, how that grew basketball around the world, especially for boys and men, and where it reached Africa. Well, the opportunity with Caitlin Clark's popularity, Africa, Europe, Asia. Think of how many number 22 USA jerseys would have been sold. Money that could have then been pumped back in to help have developmental programs in the U.S. and maybe around the world. Gone, not happening. And I know people might say, oh, she's crazy, whatever. Well, I was there. I've been there. I've covered it. I've seen the lack of interest. And right after you, my next hit is a New Zealand radio show. I'm sure they're nowhere near as good as you or have the reach, Rich Eisen. New Zealand, when the guy got in touch, I said, really? What? He goes, we love Caitlin Clark here. We're devastated. And then he even texted me, my mom is devastated. New Zealand, that is how terrible this decision was. And we haven't even started talking about merit and her good play. So then let's get to the why. Then based on your reporting, why did they leave Caitlin Clark off this team? I'm working on that. I'm continuing to work on it. In my piece that people can find, there's no paywall, USA Today, that was up Saturday afternoon. I didn't get much sleep over the weekend, but Saturday afternoon, I report 2 sources, impeccable sources. You know me, you and I both have been around a while. No way am I going to, torch my reputation without knowing that I feel very comfortable. 2 different sources told me, these are people who've been decades and decades in women's basketball, that they had been told that one of the concerns about Caitlin, this is, by the way, before the decision, before I was able to break that news, that the concern was that if she's on the team and only plays a few minutes, which of course she'd only play a few minutes, that the outcry and the uproar in the United States from her fans, millions and millions of fans, of course, which, by the way, that's a good thing for the WNBA. And of course, radio shows and everyone, whatever, would be furious that she wasn't playing more. When I first heard that, I laughed. I thought, well, that's a joke. Well, that's absurd. That's absurd. It is, well, absurd. It's like 7th grade, isn't it? And maybe it's 4th grade. And so, okay, put that, like you do, you talk to people that's reporting, you put it in my back of my mind, don't give it another thought. About 5 hours later, I run into another source, equally as strong, great, and steeped in women's basketball for probably 50 years. I asked this person, hey, what are you hearing? Caitlin Clark, Olympic team. He says the exact same thing. And I'm going, oh my God, this is something. I put a paragraph or two and I said, I'm continuing to confirm it. I did hear one other person basically say it was true as well. I haven't gone further with it because I'm waiting for USA Basketball, 60 hours and counting, not a word from USA Basketball. I think they're waiting for the embargo for the Today Show tomorrow, but that's 1950s PR. They've got a firestorm on their hands, and I'm trying to get answers. So I'm staying on it because the other piece of it too, the coach of the Olympic team, Cheryl Reeve, I do not know her, but on May 3rd, when the WNBA was promoting Caitlin Clark's first preseason game against Dallas, then Cheryl Reeve put out on Twitter, you can watch us too. She's the Minnesota Lynx coach. And she said in a hashtag, the W is more than one person. The WNBA is more than one person.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.